Hello, everybody. Anyone who's listening, wherever you are, it's Jason and Caroline and Judy. Judy's back, having fulfilled her parenting role as a grandparent last week. So I'm going to put Judy in charge because I'm a bit bored of being in charge, and she's much more capable than I am. And Judy's going to respond to context that we discussed last time, and then we're going to jam and just see what happens. There you go. Judy, over to you.
Context. I was sort of sorry that I missed the episode of context because I believe context is everything. Context is so powerful with a few important words and gestures. People know what you're talking about and can respond to that appropriately. So the worrying that people do about being they're having perfect grammar, no one's actually listening. So in conversation, grammar words are reduced to tiny grunts. So a cup of coffee sounds like a cup of coffee. There's no grammar, there's no spelling in it anywhere. And coffee means exactly the same thing. Do you want a cup of coffee? So, to focus on spelling and grammar and then wonder why you can't speak, it's because all conversation is context driven. So pointing at a library and go library, anybody on the street will say, oh, you go down the street, you go 2 streets this way and then go right, and it's there on the right. So in English spelling, we have homonyms and so many words that are spelled the same and sound differently, or sound different and spelled the same and have completely different meanings. It's the words around those words that tell you. It's not the spelling and it isn't the grammar that tells you the meaning of individual words. So English is that loose. Let's say loose. It's loose. Context is everything, and you can trust it. Yeah, trust the context.
Oh God, you can completely. Yeah, I mean, a question occurred to me then when you said, it's like how do you teach using context, which is essential in a classroom?
You be it. You be it. So they come in. So I used to have I used to call them babies or the kindergartens. So if they came absolutely right from the airport into my class and had never held a pen in their first language, so they could speak some language, and they come into your class like this, like this, and I could say hi in 15 different languages. So I did like to say hi in their language. And then they would just like fall into your arms and go, thank you, God. You got me, right? And they come with me and take a seat, and they could see everybody else sitting. And just like that, you're going to be all right. Come in.
Yeah.
And I would model on the board. My name's Judy.
So that's relying on the teacher to model the context, is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the flip side of that is model making mistakes, like be super comfortable making mistakes. So
absolutely. Yeah, mistakes are great.
I'm a terrible speller. So I just
love them.
confess, I'm going to make spelling mistakes. And if you could help me with that, if you could point those out, it would really help me. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or let's figure that out together. It changes the whole environment.
Yeah.
No,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I think we talked about context. I think Caroline sort of said something similar to you, like it's the words and all of that. I kind of because of my background with EOT and taking people out on the streets, I see context in a learning sort of sense as, who you talk to, how you feel from the conversation, the smells, the sights, the sounds, this kind of 360-degree sensory map that is around the language that you're using,
I want to see if heuristic is the word, because somebody said that to me the other day. HEUR, heuristic. Is that it? It's like everything.
Yeah.
And there's a direction towards learning heuristically
Mm.
instead of linearly and then forgetting the memorized thing. It's who are you and how does this impact you and how do you need it? And
Well, yeah. I mean, I suppose that is kind of linked to the learning by doing concept, isn't it? You know, it's plop yourself
100%.
plop yourself in the mire, tolerate the chaos, and over time your brain will make sense of the chaos. That's kind of how I see it. You know, that's how I kind of learn. You know, I don't get intimidated by complexity. I refuse to be intimidated by complexity. I just jump in, knowing that it might be hard, but it'll get easier.
I'm blonde and I'm old, so people's expectations of me are very low. So I have no ego that I have to overcome to say I don't know or help me with that. It's the blessing. It's the flip side of
the ego. The ego is a barrier, is an impediment, isn't it?
The biggest. The big. I looked up heuristic. Mm-hmm. So enabling someone to discover or learn something for themselves.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah.
But why don't
a hands-on or interactive heuristic approach to learning? I love that. That's the goal. The education is moving that way, and you know, it started with people like you, Jason, just going, "We're not doing that." That didn't work.
2001.
The memorization.
Well, yeah, in 2001, I just thought this doesn't work. You know, let's do it a different way. Try and figure out how it works. But I mean, it's interesting, like with Caroline there, because she's been very quiet so far. But Caroline's an interpreter, a translator, and she's done, you know, the CELTA and stuff like that. So she came at English teaching from a sort of conventional route, and she kind of found my stuff and has gone off piste, so to speak. So and you feel more comfortable with kind of people getting stuck in and just trying to pick up the patterns and the sounds rather than teaching them explicitly.
Yeah, because I remember the word hooks was something that my mother was not English, and so she learned English as a second or third language and ended up teaching English as well. And she used to talk about hooks to remember words, and which is the context that you were both talking about before. You connect. Something to something. Yeah. And it's all connected to something that you experience, that it's you personal, can relate to. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, definitely this is for me, it's the only way that works for me. It's just, it really kind of fits my my way of working. And I'm really enthusiastic about it, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm not letting go.
So Judy's got her hand up. Where's it going wrong in mainstream education in terms of context then?
In terms of context, I want to circle back.
There is no context. They give you this.
There's just a curriculum. There's just a pile of stuff.
They give you these units,
which we know that they forget immediately, but we've inadvertently sort of stepped into somewhere that I've always wanted us to go.
Okay.
Which was the patterns. We talked about human brains seek patterns and they can't not. This is how it works. So they're looking for things that are true all the time and discarding what doesn't fit. And
that's context.
And the second rule of how your brain works is attach it to something that you already know. It's going to do that. So that, like, that hook thing is not incidental, it is fundamental.
Yeah.
So if we taught that way, what do you need and what do you already know to use what you know to get to where you want to go? This is what you do. This is what I do.
Yeah.
That gets them there so fast. They
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
where they need to go so fast
Yeah.
because you're using what they already have.
Well, I think lots of people use sort of different terms for the same thing, really. There's lots of different
Yes,
terminologies.
I've discovered that with you and Caroline. You tagged it right away. Like we came from both different places, completely
Mm.
different places. And as soon as I met him, I thought, oh my God, I know he's doing it right. And it took a long time to discern, where those points crossed or to label them. But I
Yeah.
knew that you were doing it, and it's this. It's who are you? What do you need? And what do you have now? Like, how can I get you where you want to
Yeah.
go?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
super expedient. It's a horrible business model because they're gone in 6 weeks. They're gone,
Yeah.
because they got it,
Well, that's it. Once you, in my experience, once you kind of help someone discover how they actually learn,
Yeah.
and they experience some success and become adept at it, and it's almost like they become unafraid of learning.
Of trying, of making
Yeah.
some stumbling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like once you get to that point, then you can let them go. It's like,
They're gone. Yeah, I got this.
I mean, no, it's kind of crazy that we were just talking before we came on air about my oldest son who's doing A levels, and I see, I've encouraged him from when they were very young, both of them. I've kind of applied what I know about learning to bringing them up. So if you were to ask either of them, do you think you can do that? They'd just say yes. And they say, well, how would you do it? And they just say, well, I just learn how to do it. I just get the information and synthesize it, process it, have a go, fail, have another go, fail, and do that, So they're not afraid of learning, but then I kind of, this is slightly off subject, but I've had moments in their upbringing where the interaction with school and with teachers, has been as a parent, parents and stuff like that, and heard what they've said and seen how they've reacted. For example, my youngest son just did his GCSEs, which is like the 16 exams, which the school gives. Oh, it's super important. This is the biggest moment of your life. Blah 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 blah. And my youngest he did no revision. He did virtually nothing, right? And towards getting close, even I started going, are you sure you shouldn't, like, and I was going, oh shit, no, oh no. But so what I'm saying is, like, I kind of have moments when I've encouraged them to learn the way I know people learn and to not worry about stuff. But it doesn't really fit with school. Do you know what I mean? So they're probably seen as slightly difficult in school and a little bit detached because they do it their way and they don't do it the school's way. And it's kind of interesting. But he ended up he didn't get, like some kids go on there on, they have the old telly thing, oh, they got their grades today, every annual parade. And they always get some bright spark who goes, oh, I got 9 A stars, or I got 9 nines. And Fred didn't get 9 nines, right? He did nothing. He got really good GCSEs. He got what he wanted that will get him in to do A-level chemistry and biology. But he just looked at me and I went, phew. And he went, my plan worked.
Well, I could look it up. There's a guy who did deep studies on the kids who A school, the A students
Yeah.
work for the C students in life. He did a life, he studied them over life.
Right.
Clifton is coming up as one of his names, either his first name or his last name. But the A students only know how to do what you tell them to do.
Yes.
And the C students, their averages, they focused on chemistry or whatever it is that they liked, and the rest they barely passed.
Exactly.
So their average was C. So C students are the CEOs, and A students work for them.
I want to find this. Send me that.
I'll send it to you, but I'm not going to look for it when we're talking.
But that's so true.
This is the kind of data that we ignore.
Yeah.
How do we know that for 30 years and not change school?
No, I know.
That's a crime.
Because the smart kids have figured out how to do the minimum to get through.
Tests.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not think. School took away our ability to think for ourselves or our ability to learn. School did that. It's not a secret. Everyone knows that now. The internet outed so much of this stuff. It's not a secret. So now what the resistance to change is choosing not to change. So stubbornness. Our social problem is stubbornness. It's not lack of information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tell you, quick funny anecdote. A few years ago, because the guy in charge of kind of sixth form or whatever, or the GCSEs at my son's secondary school, before either of them went there, through a friend of mine who's a teacher there, I was invited to give a short speech to the year 11s who were just that year 11, you're starting your GCSE year. And he asked me to come along because he perceived me as someone who worked for myself since I was 25 and had, a business and stuff like that, and did lots of things. And he invited me, probably on a rather misguided notion, to enthuse them about the year ahead and the importance of the exams. And they had the halls full of this whole year. All the teachers were around the sides, and he did the intro, and it was like, "This is the most important year of your life. La, 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 la. These are, you're gonna have to work really hard. These exams will chart the course of your path in history." And then he gave me the microphone. And I thought, what do I do? Tell the truth or be myself or pretend? And I thought, I can't let these kids down. So I stood there and I said, look, in 1982, I did some O levels, which are the equivalent of GCSEs. I honestly can't remember what I did or what I got.
Thank you, God.
And no one's ever bloody asked me.
Tell the truth.
And there was this massive intake of breath in the room. and I said, look, all you got to do is find what you love and do it so well that someone will pay you to do it. That's it. Okay. Thank you very much. Goodbye. And there were teachers with heads in their hands. And I never got asked back. I don't know why.
There it is. The marketing and the propaganda of that forwards education in a misdirection, and the truth in just side by side. In 1982, I mean, Steve Jobs touts this, and Warren Buffett, all those guys say the same things. Steve Jobs didn't go to school. He went and did what interested him.
It is kind of amazing, and I see there's this phrase that people use for high pressure exams. Schools that do that. Sausage factories. It's like squeezing people into this tube and having them come out in a uniform way. And I do see it like that. I mean, I'm going back to ELT. I see ELT like that, because there are high stakes exams. It's like when I look at IELTS, and stuff like that, I just think, oh God, years ago when IELTS was introduced and the British Council were running it, I think they still do. I just thought that this is just a money-making scheme, you know?
It's a business.
It's a business.
Same
It
as the church.
doesn't,
Same as the church.
yeah.
It's just it's an industry. It's a money-making scam.
You were going to say something then, Caroline?
No, it's just something that I remembered that I'll tell you afterwards. It's okay. It's okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, it's. I mean, who like getting on to you mentioned in the chat the text chat before, you know, like other educators who are.
Oh yeah.
We're
We're going to do a whole thing on that.
We'll do a whole thing on that. We'll do some
I'll just
research.
get some of their names.
We could
so
do we could do a top 10. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yeah. I hate top 10s. You know, it's
so something sad is coming up for me now. Okay. And there's a lot of propaganda on LinkedIn right now about teachers, and you know, teachers save a soul every day and it's part of their job and they're not getting paid for it, and you know, the hammering away at the emotional respect I think all of us give to teachers. Not one word about what an epic fail they are, that 40% of their kids can't read. Why don't we put that? Do they work hard? Yes. Do they care? Yes. Are they scrambling like crazy at this time of year to make their classroom beautiful? Absolutely. Are their kids going to leave their class any better prepared for life? No, they are not. No, they are not. How come that's not an issue? How come that's not what decides what a great teacher is? So I sound, can I say bitch on here? I sound like such a bitch, you know, to say it out loud. You know, that bitch, you know, she's calling out teachers. I'm not calling out teachers. Teachers are freaking amazing. And they're little tiny voiceless minions in a system that hurts children. That's what they are. And they do it with their whole heart. It breaks my heart.
I completely agree. And I come from an ELT, and I was a school governor, chair of governors, primary school, and my boys have been through secondary school or going through it. At every turn, what you said is fact. You know?
Yeah, just propaganda.
But if you raise your voice, and point out, you know, this is why I refer to it as the emperor's new clothes. You know, you become a pariah. You know,
I'm a pariah, proud pariah. I can start a group.
Well, I have been since God knows when, you know, 2001, doing something different, you know.
You're braver than I am, because you have kids and we're relying on that income to live. I had a farm, so you know, I could step away from education and start my own business, and it worked out because I had a farm and I had a pile of kids that made that farm go. So I didn't have a man. There was no paycheck. No, you know, while you play at your little career game, you know, it was do or die. But I did have that fallback, and it turned out really well. The kids are super capable. They can, because they lived on a farm, not because they went to school, right? Yeah.
Well, that
for sure, but I didn't need the income to go out on my own.
I don't, and I think this is something to do with my brain, which you know I was recently diagnosed autistic, and I think I don't perceive risk like other people. You know? It's like if I really want to do it, I just do it, and fuck the consequences often. You know, it's like I'm compelled to do it, and I just think I'll manage it as it goes. You know.
Yeah, you're brave. I don't know how much longer we have to talk. How much longer do you want to talk? Because I had kind of a nice closing.
Well, go on. You're in charge. Go on.
I didn't time how long we've been doing this.
We've been going 25 minutes, but we normally do about 35, so another 10.
So maybe you can comment on this, and it's not the end at all.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have these show. Do you have the Big Bang Theory where you live? Is that right? How about The Good Doctor? Do you
I've
have The
never
Good
watched
Doctor?
The Big Bang Theory. Is it any good?
It's excellent. They're all autistic. So
Right. Oh, I should watch it.
Bones. How about Bones? So that she's a
Mm,
forensic anthropologist and she's totally on the spectrum. The Good
right.
Doctor is totally, so he's a young genius doctor with no emotional,
Right.
he's missed a big hole in his, right? He's
Yeah.
super intelligent and the Big Bang, they're all genius scientists and they're all weirdos, they're all would be ostracized from society 20 years ago,
Oh,
but
yeah.
these shows have normalized them. So
Mm,
now and there's many sides to their characters. So yes, this piece is missing, but this is how you manage somebody who has value and thinks differently than
mm.
you or thinks differently than all of society. So those three shows is super powerful. They've changed the way that all of us think about autism and differently abled. And so I love that. I love that. So,
I've started trying to. I've deliberately started sort of embracing it. Like
yes.
when I was diagnosed, my life, the history of my life made sense. The big moments
Yes.
that I screwed up, or seemed to have screwed up. Um, and there's a thing that is well documented and is called masking. And so what I'm trying to do is trying to remove my mask
Unmask. Yeah.
and trying to unmask. And I've also, at times when I've been looking at things going back to learning and stuff like that, or doing stuff, I've tuned in or tried to tune in consciously to my ability to recognize patterns and kind of put trust in my pattern recognition abilities. And it's paid off in some respects in a number of ways, and so I'm increasingly doing that, but I see in some senses that there's a pre-diagnosis me and a post-diagnosis me, and the pre-diagnosis me, the masked me, is a slightly different person. So
There's another name for it, Jason. It's healing.
it's
You're
healing.
healing.
Well,
You're
healing,
healing
yeah. I mean, I'm
from
not.
who you had to fake to be in fake school, to
Sorry, say
fake
that
fit
again.
in. It's who you had to become
Yeah,
or
yeah,
fake
yeah,
to be to survive in the fake learning
yeah,
environment,
yeah,
which
yeah.
was school. School did that. School
Well,
did that.
I'm sure it did in a way because I
Not in
didn't.
a way. 30% of
Yeah,
students are traumatized for life from school. So we talk about parental abuse and all kinds, sexual abuse and predators, and we're terrified of that. We won't let kids go to the
where
park
did
on
you
their
get
own,
the
whatever.
30%?
Freaking damage is in school. School trauma. Look it up. School trauma.
Really?
I don't make any
Wow.
of this stuff up. I'm just not that smart. I retain a tremendous amount of stuff.
Yeah, yeah,
School,
yeah.
school trauma, look at the statistics, and it's exactly what you said. It's the mask that you make up starting when you're 6. Sit down, shut up, think what I tell you to think, and repeat it to me on a test, or you're shamed and bullied by the teacher.
Oh God,
Get
yeah,
back
yeah.
into
Teacher
line.
shame. The whole thing is about shame, is about
Yeah,
conformity,
yeah.
and trying to make someone who's autistic conform is traumatizing. Basically, you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, personally, I got through school. I got in trouble from time to time, but I was kind of sarcastic trouble. It was verbal, and rugby, an obsession, got me through school
Yeah.
because I was good at it. I was passionate about it. I was kind of obsessed with it, but I knew if I was in trouble, I wouldn't be able to go to training at lunchtime, and then if I didn't train, I wouldn't play. So that system kept me on the straight and narrow.
I think a lot of people are going to relate to that struggle that you just described. All of us had to be somebody else, but hardly everybody says it as clearly as you know, to fit in. So I think that mold is getting broken. So we're seeing the value in different thinkers and differently abled.
But this is the thing. It's like, you know, I mean, my personal thing is kind of, yeah, you're right. It's echoed through society in the sense that society makes everyone conform. The education system makes everyone conform, and it strips away or makes you mask the interesting bits that make you more vital, more energized, more passionate.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that's it. I think that's a crime, you know.
Well, Ken Robinson was knighted for that. You know, that's
but they didn't listen to him, did
creativity.
they?
That's cool. It feels that. He's dead now. Did make a particle of difference. So it's not that we don't know. We know, and we don't do anything anyway.
But how the hell? You mentioned Ken Robinson. I saw him speak at a big thing in London, right? He's brilliant, great. Totally agree with everything he said. He's put on a platform. There's loads of people. These videos are seen by millions, right? Everyone goes, yeah, what a great idea. Brilliant. And then the system puts him up there, right? Ministers shaking hands, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Fuck all happens.
Yeah.
How does that work? I mean, like, it's like...
Okay, this is a good lead in to our next talk, because it made a difference all over the place. There's little beacons of light, like you and me and Rita Baker and Michael Stewart and Grant Lynchman and Lautrette, shining all over the place and all around the world. Like it's, you know, like that.
We've got to get more.
We'll talk about
unite people. Yeah, I'm looking at. Listeners can't know that we can see each other. We're all like Caroline's in Rome. I'm in darkest Dorset, and Judy's in Ontario. But I was just looking at Caroline's face because I do that a lot because I know, you know, it's a lovely face and it's nice to look at. But there is another reason. It's because I'm trying to see where she can join in here, you know, because I'm aware that Judy and I are quite verbose and quite boom, you know, and Caroline's from a slightly different position. But I was looking at your face then. I was thinking, oh, is Caroline thinking, oh my God, I'm in a room, a digital room with two revolutionaries. Do I want to be here, kind of thing, you know? I was just very aware of that, you know.
I have my own experiences of something very similar, but I'm really happy to listen to everything come out into the open because it brings up things that I can really relate to, and I think it's going to be the same for other people who are listening, just like you've both said. So I'm not contributing because you're doing the work yourselves very, very well.
Well, how do you relate to it?
Well, I was really good at sport at school, and it was what I loved. I was good at languages, and that was what I loved, and I hated everything else.
Right.
And I was shamed during art lessons because I'm not creative in a conventional way, so I can't produce or even copy a drawing or an image. Okay. And I remember these blobs of color, of paint, of blue and red, primary colors. I was young, that I put because I was forced to onto paper, and I felt really, really constrained and really uncomfortable, and in the wrong place at the wrong time. And
how were you shamed?
Because I was told, "Oh, you're no good," you know.
How old were you?
I don't know. I think it was I don't know, 11, 10. I'm not sure which school it was, whether it was my junior school or or the
Right.
other one. I only went to 2 schools up to 11 and from 11 to 18. And so I probably my first year or of the senior school,
Yeah.
which isn't good because it does consider itself a very, very good school. It's private, but probably changed since then. It had its
Did
own
it? So you
swimming
mentioned
pools.
it now. So it's stuck with you.
Oh yeah. I mean, a lot has, but I don't remember a lot of it. That's something that's just come up now because of what you were talking about.
Right.
And I think it's something that could well have been avoided or could have been dealt with differently. But when you have a classroom of people, I guess you have to do your job, and the people who aren't following you the way you want get the rough end of it. Or
Yeah.
yeah. So the teacher
Do you
doesn't.
think that affected how you approached other topics, subjects?
Yeah, I also remember once, because as I said, I didn't talk about maths, but it was one of the things I hated, and I stuck my hand up because I was convinced that I got an answer, and I was the only one in the room in the class that thought that, and I felt like a complete idiot because I was wrong. I was really enthusiastic. It's like, yeah, I got it. No, and that's another thing I remember. And I was young, and it's these things. It's like you feel like, oh no, never again.
Yeah.
I never want to go through that again.
And I can bring it right back to ELT from what you said, because having 15, 20, 25, 30 teenagers in a school classroom studying Spanish or English or French, right? The teacher is the one modeling the language. And if you're asking a teenager to put themselves on the chopping block in public in front of a group of their peers in terms of using basic second language skills, like that is completely counterproductive.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like insanity to me. And that's that whole shaming thing, public shaming, peer group, all of that stuff is what you've just described and what goes on in schools today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. I love what Caroline said too when she said it considered itself a good school.
Yeah,
they always do.
They all do.
No, I mean yeah. Well, you can see on my profile which school it was,
Oh, can we? Oh, good. Right.
No, but I think it's true. All schools think that. That's the problem.
All head teachers think that.
Yep, that's the problem. I never met a teacher who didn't think they were a good teacher, but they never realized good and teacher is an oxymoron.
Yeah.
There actually is no such thing.
Oh, lovely. On that note.
It had a swimming pool and a lacrosse field and tennis courts.
Well,
even a grass court. So for me, it was a good school.
Any idiot can see that's a good school.
Well, the ones with the best pitches and the best maintained grounds are the ones practicing the most mind control.
Yeah, for sure. That's marketing.